So I am also from Minnesota, and nice to have company here. I am a developer and a podcaster and a writer. I have one app on the Mac App Store and about 100 projects out on the internet, 104 now. And I also run the podcast Systematic on ESN and Overtired with Christina Warren, also on ESN. And I have a book out with David Sparks, 2 volumes of it now. And yeah, and I run a blog at Terpstra.com.
Sounds like you're a busy guy.
I try.
What kind of projects are those 104 projects on the internet?
Really, really nerdy ones.
I'm sure it's right up everybody's alley in the room. Anyway, okay, well, we're really glad to have you. What time is it there?
10:30.
Okay, so it's not too bad.
Nah,
And the weather?
not bad either. It's like 50 degrees.
Wow. We're about 85.
What?
And sunny without a cloud to sky.
And you're still wearing a jacket.
Yeah, because they keep this room freezing cold.
30 in here.
Anyway, we're really glad to have you and we appreciate it. So why don't you
All right.
go ahead and start talking about tagging.
All right, I will start talking and then I will share my desktop because we're going to do this whole thing as kind of a demo. Tagging is a hard sell. I've been tagging myself for about 15 years now, but I've rarely been able to get anyone else on board. That's partly because Apple has not really made it feasible until very recently. Since Sierra, we've actually had file tagging built into Finder. Before that, we had to have our own hacks. There was something called Open Meta, which is essentially what Apple used when they added tagging to Finder. And before that, we would add hashtags into Spotlight comments. And ultimately, the goal has always been to make our files more searchable and be able to more quickly find all related files for a project. And that, like I said, has gotten easier in recent years. So now we have tagging in Finder, which is what we're gonna talk about today. In Finder on the Mac, those tags also sync now to iOS, which makes it an actually usable ecosystem. So I'm hoping now I can sell more people on the idea of tagging. Not that I get any recompense from that, but it's a personal goal. So obviously we want tagging to be easy if we're going to make an organization system out of it. First, I'll demonstrate what tagging can do, just so you know what we're getting into here. I have a demo folder here. It's got a variety of files, and then it's got a couple of subfolders with more files. So I'm going to add a tag. Oh, that's right. We'll get to the shortcut in a second. I'm going to add a tag called demo to that file and to these 2 files. And now over here, I have a search where I simply type tag:demo. Did these tag? These should be showing up. Yes. Okay, here we go. So, sorry. All right, so I had a couple of other files with the tag demo on them, but you can see that all the files I just tagged are now showing up in one place. So I've created basically a file grouping, and it doesn't matter what folder these files are in, they're correlated. And I can save that to my sidebar as a safe search. So I could build one for any project I was working on, give it the name of the project, and then have a single folder where all of my related files, no matter where I put them on my hard drive, can go. The beauty of that is most people have their own filing system, a hierarchy of folders that go from like 2018 taxes, receipts, scans, OCR, deep into a file hierarchy. But you can only store those files in one folder. With tags, you can have files exist in as many folders as you want, or have files from as many folders as you want show up as if they were in a single folder. Then within this Spotlight search I've done, I can add file name : img, and it would find just that image file within this demo tag. So, any questions so far?
How did you tag them?
Wait a minute. Do we have a question?
How did he tag them?
Okay, what's the question, Marty?
I couldn't see how he tagged them.
That's what I'm gonna demo next.
Any other questions?
Okay.
No. Wait, one more.
Can demo
Okay.
be anywhere in there or just at the end?
Say that again?
What's it?
Can demo, the word, the tag, be anywhere in the name of the file or just at the end?
Well, demo is not, you'll see that in these two files, for example, there's no demo in the name. We've just added the tag, and the tags can be in any order.
So it's not going to search any place in the document to find demo?
Okay, so because in this search here, I've specified tag : demo, it's only searching for the demo tag. If I just made that demo, it would search the way Spotlight normally does, and that would include tags, but also every file had the word demo in it.
Okay, Brett, go ahead.
All right, so how to tag? There are a bunch of different ways to add tags. The one I was just using is right-clicking on a file, and then down here in the menu, you see the tags sub-item, and clicking that brings up this little pop-up. And then these are your recently used tags, and you can also just start typing and it will autocomplete tags, and you can arrow through those. The other ways include open and save dialogues. If you have a document, I don't have prep to show it right now, but when you're saving a document and opening a document, there's a field right underneath the file name. I really should have had this right to show you, I apologize. I will find that, we will get there. That you can fill in tags as you name a file. You can also go into a document, let's just open up Pages here, see what I was working on, hopefully not embarrassing. Oh, a resume, okay. So, in the toolbar for the window, at the top, next to what's called the proxy icon, there's a down arrow. And if you click that, it's where you can rename your file, change where it is, and also add tags while you're working on a file. And then, when I go to a save dialog, I can also add the tags right here underneath the file name. So I can tag files as I create them, as I save them, as I'm working on them, or I can tag them in the Finder.
We have a question.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
let's say you've made a Pages document and now you want to add a tag, but it's a new tag. You want to make it be Halloween. So that isn't a choice that is already made. Yeah, so how are you going to add Halloween, or whatever you choose to pick.
You just type it.
You just type it and it will instantly create that new tag?
Correct.
Okay.
And it will also then show up under your recent tags in the Finder sidebar and in these autocomplete fields here. So next time I go into tag, if I start typing Halloween,
Okay.
oh, I have to save this file. I have to save this tag first. And now if I go in, next time I'm tagging something, Halloween shows up and auto-completes for me.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
We have another question.
go for it.
Can you show us how you would tag emails that come in so that you can find them later?
You have no idea how much I would love to show you that, except for it can't be done. There's currently, and this was something that a lot of people have kind of created hacks around. The old app called Tags from Case Apps, and Mail Tags was a plugin for Mail. They were all designed around this idea of being able to tag emails like everything else, but it's one area that Apple has completely neglected for us. So, sorry, but not my fault. Any other questions right now?
Nope.
Okay.
Question,
Wait, yes.
can you save an email and then tag it?
Yes, if you save the email out to an EML file, any file that's on your disk, once you've saved it, you can then tag it. Or if you printed it out to a PDF, you could then tag that PDF.
Does everybody understand that? You can get around, I mean, you can go around the world to do the same thing, but you can't do it right
You can't do it in mail.
in mail.
Which is a travesty as far as I'm concerned.
Could you save it in Quicken? Could you save the, put a tag on something in Quicken, the application Quicken?
I think it
Okay,
has
so-
to own the device.
I don't have Quicken to test it, but any application that uses Mac OS's default frameworks, if the document has a proxy icon, you can tag it. If you're talking about an item in Quicken's database, probably not able to tag that because it's not represented by a file on the disk.
Thank you.
However, to add on to that, when you build smart folder searches, if there is a way to differentiate an item in a database, whether it's by content, if you're adding tags, for example, in the content with like @ symbols, you could add that to a search. So you have the tag search, and then you just add another characteristic, and then create an and search. And that would bring them all together without having to actually individually tag other things. So that gets into building more complex spotlight searches, which we can absolutely cover if you'd like, but there are workarounds for stuff like that. This is why tagging's a hard sell.
Thank you.
Okay. So making tagging faster would be the next step. I don't personally like right-clicking and choosing things from the menu. So if you open up System Preferences, Keyboard, and you go to Shortcuts, and you go down to App Shortcuts, and I'll remove this one so I can show you how to add it. So we go into Finder, we click the plus button to add a new shortcut. We're going to call it Tags with an ellipsis, which is Option semicolon. And then we're going to assign command, I use command semicolon. You can use whatever key stroke you want there. No limitations other than you probably shouldn't use a common one like Command S. You definitely shouldn't use a common one like Command S. But now just hitting that keystroke should pop up the tagging dialog. However, in Mojave, there's a bug right now that we're all hoping gets fixed very soon. But you have to go into tags and drag out all of the favorites, or the tag shortcut doesn't work. This is, and hopefully this will work for you, but this is a bug that I believe is fixed for the next release. Oh, it's still not working. This was working before I called, I swear. That's very frustrating. Okay. Just took it a second. So now I can just hit the keyboard shortcut, Command semicolon, and that window pops up, and I can just start typing without my fingers leaving the keyboard. So, next fun is we're going to get into multi-part tags, creating a tag hierarchy. So I'll pause for questions before I get into that.
Are there any questions? One second.
Explain
Wait a
ellipsis.
minute, 1 second. Okay, go ahead.
Explain ellipsis.
Okay. The ellipsis is the ... English language punctuation, but it is, instead of just 3 periods, it's a single character, and that character is created on a map by typing option semicolon.
Any other questions? Got that, Pam?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Brett?
Okay, now we're gonna get nerdy. So there's no way to create hierarchical tags, meaning having tags that have child tags, which more complex tagging systems do usually have. What I've learned to do in macOS is separate tags with punctuation, and separate parts of tags with punctuation. As you can see in my recent tags over here, I have one, for example, called demo:/tagging:/bar. And what that does is, in a Spotlight search, the punctuation causes Spotlight to search each of these as individual tags. So I can type tag:/tagging, and it'll find everything that has tagging as any part of the tag. So then I can create these kind of hierarchical tags, and the real benefit of that is autocomplete. Once the tags are created, I can just start typing demo. All of my child tags of demo will show up. I'm going to tag this one, tagging bar, and this one, tagging foo. I'm removing the demo tag, it's not necessary, it's just redundant right now. And then over in my search, I have the tags column showing, which you do by right-clicking in the top of the list when you're in details view, and then choosing the tags column, and that'll show your tags as part of the list. This one has some weird tags on it, added by some other app. Okay, so we now have demo tagging foo and demo tagging bar. So within this tag demo, I can run and tag bar. Huh. Yes, okay. We all love Mojave. Wasn't at all what I meant to do. So now only the file that has this demo and bar is going to show up. And I can change that to foo and only see the one that I tagged foo. Or I could do tag demo and tag bar or tag food. And get them both.
Marty, will you tell them that this meeting is normal?
How's that for complex spotlight searches?
It's complex.
Oh, I'm looking.
No, we just had a couple people leave because it's over and above their head. Okay. No problem.
It looks like you're talking to me, but I don't have any audio. Are you muted? Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, I'm going. So I guess like I said, the biggest reason to use these broken up tags, and any punctuation, by the way, will work. You can use anything except for commas and spaces. Spaces will work, but they don't separate the tags the way that like a colon or a period or a semicolon does. The biggest reason to do this is simply autocomplete. That way you can group tags together under a parent tag, like within a project, and you can have subtags. Okay, I'm gonna pause for questions because the next part is how to define a tagging system.
Questions?
There have to be some. That part got really nerdy.
We don't have any questions for that one.
Oh no. Did I dumbfound everyone? I'm sorry.
We don't have any minutes.
They're still here. No problem.
Okay. So when it comes to figuring out what to tag files with, my personal philosophy is I don't use more than 3 tags on a file unless it really makes sense. So I start with a general context tag, which would be for me like coding or writing, or I have one called file cabinet, which is the context for all receipts, expenses, contracts, things like that. And then the next tag would be a project tag. So under coding, I would have a tag for my app marked. And in my system, that tag is actually like a 2 or 3 part tag. So it would be like marked test files, markdown, with colons in between. But then a third tag is the one that is kind of more top of mind. And that's kind of the beauty of tags, is you're making your own system. Tagging gets a lot more complex if you're trying to define a system that works for a large group of people. But on your own system, you tag with something that you think a year from now, it's going to be the one thing you remember about this file. You've forgotten the name of the file, you've forgotten when exactly you created it, all of these things you would normally search by. What's the one word associated with the file or with the project that's going to register for you at that point? And then suddenly you're able to find files, even if you can't remember anything else about them. So those words can be as abstract as you want, but it's good to define a taxonomy of your own so that they are somewhat predictable for you. I do not tag things that already exist in metadata. Things like file type. I'm not going to tag something as an image. It's really easy to tell Spotlight to search for images. I'm not going to tag something with the date I created it. That's already part of the file's metadata. And if it's already in the title of the file, it doesn't really need a tag either, because that's the first thing Spotlight's going to search. So I'm tagging with things that I would associate with the file that aren't necessarily already part of it. If it's in the content, I am okay with repeating that as a tag, because contents can change. And having that tag, if that's a strong association for the tag, it makes sense to include it as a more permanent metadata on the file than something inside the content. That has to have some questions.
Could he give some
We
examples?
got it on you. Go ahead, Marilyn.
Could he give some examples of tags that he selects in different files?
Yes. Oops. So I have a smart search called brainstorming, which includes a lot of things beyond tags. But here is, I have a brainstorm tag. The notes is a context tag. search link is the project, and brainstorming is kind of repeated on this one, but so then it is part of my planning process. So it is part of a project, but it's a very specific part of the project. It's part of the brainstorming process. So brainstorming kind of becomes the random association tag, because that's not something that would be in the title of the file, and I'm not going to write brainstorming while I'm brainstorming. These files here were created automatically, so my script adds, because they're pulled from MindMeister, it adds MindMeister as a tag, which makes it easy for me to see like auto-generated files. If they get messy, I can easily separate those and clean them up. Let's go into projects. My Dimspirations, it's a project that I post on social media just for fun. But when I create a Dimspiration, the design file for it gets tagged with Dimspirations draft. And then once I publish one, that goes into the posted folder as Dimspirations posted. Now those are auto-filed for me. I save everything to my desktop, and then Hazel reads the tags that I put on the file and it stores them in folders, which goes back to the idea that I could have all of my files in a single folder and just use tags to find them, but I prefer to keep a shallow folder hierarchy and then use tags to find the files. I rarely dig into these folders that I'm running through right now, because I just grab the files by their tags. But if everything went wrong and all of my tags got erased, I have the fallback of this folder system that is the kind of tried and true organization system that all Mac users are used to. Were those decent examples for you?
Marilyn, were they decent examples?
Yeah, sort of.
Well, any examples from more your personal life than your production?
You're still muted.
Are we muted? Okay.
Can you give examples more from your personal life than from production type?
You're getting very... So let's see. We could go into my file cabinet. That seems risky, though.
Oh.
What's the word I'm looking for? The ones where you're not allowed to talk about things. Do not.
Well, I didn't mean it personally. I meant it as examples, so it's not necessarily showing as telling something.
Let's do this. If we
go
go into Finder Preferences, we can, under the tags, we can see all the tags that I use. So we can see like under, I guess all of my tags are kind of project-based, but we can see that I use advertising as a tag, and then Mac Update is where the ad was running, and then these are not graphics files, but they are files related to the process of creating a graphic, so I can organize all of those together. I have different types of scripts that I'm working on, organized by their type, and in this case by the client that's paying me for the script. I use dot for, again, in a lot of tagging systems, dot tags are hidden. So files that I am sharing with other systems, I often use dot tags just to differentiate between very personal tags that really only make sense to me and tags that would work in a group. These et tags are actually holdovers from my days of tagging in Spotlight comments. I have years worth of tags here that I go through and try to clean out regularly. But like that's a project. Pictures, when I have pictures of myself that I want to save to use as, say, social media avatars, I tag them me. So I can just search for images tag me, and that makes it instantly available, all of my selfies and photos that I've collected of myself. It's vain, I know, but you've done that, right? You go to upload a picture for Twitter, and you can't find a single good picture of yourself, tag them. Yeah, we could go through my entire tagging collection here, but I feel like that gives you a pretty good idea.
One second. Yeah.
Okay, I've used tagging for lots of years, and I'm okay at it, but it's really, I think it's useful. So here's an example. Here's how I visually think of it. Is I think of it like, let's say, see how he's got all the colors, green and all that, think of it like little sticky tags in your file cabinet, and if you've got a lot of different subjects, you have, maybe you're on your HOA's committee for something or other, maybe you're on some committee at a club, and so you've got a lot of different things that you do, so you have each section of your file cabinet is for the different projects. And so think of it on the computer, right? On the computer, you saved it under your club's name, under your HOA's name, under NMUG's name. But then, what you really want to find easily, so this is where you make your little green sticky, is in each of those, you've put the little green sticky, the little green tag. So if you want to go find a sample of a spreadsheet for each one, so you want to just go mark the things that are the financial document, or you want to go mark the things that are just the who's on the committees. And that way when you look in, my visual interpretations, when you look in your file cabinet, oh, you've got each of your different subjects, but I can go in and grab all the little green sheets, right? So that's how I think of it, as a easy means of finding something from different locations that have something in common.
Is there anybody else in the room that is using tagging currently? And could
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
Yeah, go ahead.
I love that description. Is it okay if I steal it?
Yeah, it's all yours.
Thank you.
You'll need to make a tagging presentation at least once a month. Jerry, do you use tagging?
No. I tried it, I couldn't come up with a hierarchy that would make sense to me.
But I use it.
And that is,
Well, I was
Sorry,
going to
go
say,
ahead.
I use it as sort of almost the opposite of a hierarchy. My hierarchy is my subjects, the HOA, the club, the committee, and then, so that has the bigger discipline. But then, when I want to be able to do the bigger stroke, oh, I want to mark all my red stickies and my green stickies, because those are the committee members in each folder, or these are the financials in each subject matter. That way, it's the bigger piece of that. It's the more casual one.
The big thing I don't know today is how to do multiple tags by putting a character between the tags to build the hierarchy. That I never stumbled upon, so I might rethink tagging.
Did you get that, Brad?
I did. I guess when it comes to creating a tagging system, let necessity define the system itself. When you do a search and it gets complicated because, say, you're searching for all of your spreadsheets, but there's no way to determine which ones are the financial documents, At that point, it's a good idea to add a financial tag the files that you need to separate from the search, and then going forward, you just add the financial tag when you create a new financial spreadsheet. So there's no point in sitting down and trying to predict every type of tag you'll ever need. But you can create rules for yourself. Some of my rules, by the way, include I never use spaces. I never use uppercase letters. So I will run words together and I will keep them all lowercase because it's a tag. It doesn't have to be human readable. I only use punctuation for separation of tags. I don't use underscores. Yeah, those are the big ones. All lowercase, no spaces. That kind of consistency is what makes, because if you tag something draft, always singular. If you tag something draft and then drafts, you have two tags, and searching for drafts plural won't turn up the ones that are tagged with a singular draft.
Any other questions? Okay, go ahead.
I'm kind of at the end. I was assuming there were going to be a ton of questions.
All right, well, we do have another one here.
You may have said this, but I'm not clear on it. Can you search with your search, and then after you select a list of files, use your tagging system to search? In other words, have a global search with Finder search, and then a more specific with your tag. Once you have that.
So, do you know how Spotlight handles Boolean searches?
No?
So if you use and, it means that both of these queries have to be true. So it has to have the tag demo and it has to have the tag bar, and therefore I'm searching within the demo tag for the bar tag. So only files that have both will show up. The other way to do that is to create a search and then save that search. And we'll call it demo, and we'll add it to our sidebar over here. So now if I open the demo smart or the save search, now I can also search within there just for tag bar.
Okay.
Which is failing to show me what should be there, but it does work.
We very seldom have a guy of this intelligence level speak with us. So I guess there are things that you could answer that maybe are not exactly on tagging. You hear me, Brett?
I do hear you. I got obsessed with why this file didn't show up in my search. So, okay, yeah, I will take general questions.
Question, if I haven't used tags, but occasionally I'll assign a color to a file, can it be searched by color?
Yep, since Sierra, they removed the idea of labels, which is what colors used to be called. Now they're just tags like everything else, so you can search for tag green. So you search by color name.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions on anything? Jerry?
I have the hobby installed, and I went to the Finder under the Apple and click on an App Store, and I'm getting a failure. Is that a bug in the hobby, or is that my operating system is corrupted?
that is an what failure are you getting? Is it a NSURL failure?
It's giving me a big error message and it's going to be sent to Apple.
Oh, wow, yeah, that's probably a corruption issue on your system.
Okay.
I did think of one more aside to add. In the Finder sidebar, it gives you your recent tags, and you can drag files to those tags to add that tag to a file. And you can also click all tags and do the same type of thing. See all of the files with the tag that you select and drag files to other tags to add them to that. It doesn't move them, it adds new tags to them. There, that was the value add tip.
Maybe this is, would be a repetition of what you have already said, but I think it might be useful. I'm not sure if everybody is aware of Smart Search and saving the search. Could you elaborate or repeat how you integrate search, save search into your tag system?
Okay, so first, to create a saved search, you just start searching. Whatever Spotlight search you have running in Finder, once you have the files showing up that you want in the scope that you want, let's get rid of that. Then you can just click the save button over here, and then that will put, when you click the save button, you have the option to add it to your sidebar, which generally, if it's an important save search that I'm going to be accessing frequently, I go ahead and add it to the sidebar because you can always drag it out later. So once you have that in your sidebar and it's showing you the results of that search, then you can search within it easily. You can also at any time right-click on that and show search criteria, which will then show you all of the elements of that search. And in this case, it's just one tag. If we look at the search criteria for my brainstorming search, don't save. You can see that I made a really complex search using raw syntax. And then I added okay, this is a cool tip that everyone always oohs and ahs at, so I'll give it to you. If you hold down the option key when you're building criteria like this, the plus symbol turns into an ellipsis. And clicking that gives you a nested option group where you can choose any, all, or none. So then you can keep nesting those. So you could have, if any of these match, and then one of the criteria can be, it can't be any of these, and you can have multiple criteria in there. It allows you to create these really complex searches that can be tags. You could say, if it's tagged this, and it doesn't have any of these tags, and it matches this text, put it into this smart folder. That kind of complexity I don't generally use as a saved search, but I will build a search off of a more general saved search.
Can you expand?
Hold on a second. Go ahead.
Can you expand on what you referred to way at the beginning and tagging within iOS?
Yeah. So in the Files app on iOS, I can't demo this, but if you open up Files, you can sort your files by tags. And you'll see when you add a tag on macOS, assuming you're all hooked up to iCloud, those tags will automatically show up in Files on iOS. I'm referring to the Files app, not files in general. You can, when saving a file in any iCloud-enabled application, you can add tags to it there, and those also sync back to your Mac. The downside, iOS has no really good way to maneuver search through the tags themselves. You kind of have to scroll down a long list depending on how many tags you have and find the tags you're looking for. You can add favorites, but as we demonstrated, if you want a shortcut key, those are currently broken. So I don't do a lot of actual tagging on iOS, but if I'm tagging documents like Pages documents that are going to iCloud, tags are actually vital for me on iOS because there's no really good file structure provided within an app's iCloud folder, but you can use tags to create folders virtually.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yeah, we have a few. Marilyn?
In iOS, do you add the tag in the File app?
You can add tags in the File app, but you can also add tags anytime you're saving a document.
Okay, so if I save something in Pages on the iOS, I could tag it at that time?
Yes.
Don?
Can I ask a mail question?
Sure.
For decades, when I wanted to send an email, it would automatically send from whatever account I had selected in the sidebar. The last couple OSs, Apple chooses the sending account for me. Is there any way to send it automatically from whatever account I have selected in the sidebar?
That's a really good question, and one of the reasons I stopped using mails, so I can't.
Wow.
I switched to MailMate, which is it's an ugly app, but it's powerful and predictable.
Thank you.
Why do you say it's ugly?
Have you seen it?
No. Oh, I mean, it really is ugly.
The UI is not refined in the way that apps like AirMail or even Mail app are. It looks older.
What's it called again?
MailMate.
Thank you.
Tied to that, why is Mail misbehaving and choosing to choose your mailbox that it wants you to send it from?
I believe it's using kind of a predictive algorithm based on how you replied to messages to that account in the past.
And it doesn't have anything, one thing I've been trying to figure out why it does that. If someone sent me something from their Google account, but that's not my primary one, it seems like it wants to send back on my Google, even though that's not the one I would normally use.
Yeah, it's a flawed system.
Jerry, you rave about a different mail also.
What?
What is your mail program?
I use Apple Mail.
Oh, I thought you used another one.
No.
No, sorry.
There are so many mail apps now.
Any other questions? Jim Corsica, you must have a question.
Well, I do, but it's about Pages and it's very specific.
Well, I have,
All right, I have an occasion to highlight documents in Pages. And I can't understand why if I highlight a line or two lines in a Pages document, and as far as I understand it, I do that by changing the background, that when I go to the print step, I'll see the document highlighted in the little preview window, and then when I print it out, the lines are not highlighted.
I assume you're talking about on a color printer?
Yes.
Yeah, that's weird.
Thank you for your insight.
Like you said, a really intelligent guy who I have no idea.
Okay.
Could that be because maybe he hasn't saved the document?
No, it shouldn't be. If it shows up in the print preview, it really should show up in the print.
I've saved the document, I've closed the app, I've opened the app and opened the document, and the highlighting is there. But in the print.
What happens? What happens if you print to PDF?
I didn't think of saving it as a PDF.
Well, actually, if you go into the print dialog and then at the bottom where you can choose other print options, in the bottom left, if you choose save to PDF there, I'd be curious if the highlight, because that technically uses the same print system, so I'd be curious to know if it loses the highlights there as well.
That's a good suggestion, I'll try it.
Anybody else have any ideas on what Jim was talking about? That's probably a problem that,
A yellow marker.
a yellow marker.
That had to be Bill.
Bob?
While we are at pages, I am annoyed that when I drag over a couple of words in pages, it won't stick, it won't select, unless I hold down also the shift key. And that's the only Apple program where that happens. Is that something unique that's happening to me, or are others annoyed by that?
I don't know if I understand. So just selecting text, right? Like I'm doing on the screen?
Like this, then it disappears on a pages document. The selection doesn't stick unless I also hold down the shift key.
That almost sounds like a hardware issue.
Are you holding down any keys while you're?
Nope, I'm click, drag, release.
Okay, so that's a problem I have.
Sounds like it. Yeah, it's almost like your mouse is sending a second click, something that would cause it to deselect.
Okay.
Could he make an adjustment to his mouse that maybe would solve that problem?
I don't know, it happens whether I use my stylus or my mouse or
It happens.
or the vacuum mouse.
So it's,
Yeah.
Oh, that could be, any stylus-based tablet might behave very differently with that.
Okay.
so a stylus will behave different than a mouse.
Yeah, the way that it handles mouse down and mouse up can be different, especially because you're just pressing harder on the stylus, so in between pressing harder and releasing, there's also a drag in between as your pressure comes up. So it may actually be sending a secondary positioning note to the cursor that would cause it to deselect text.
Marilyn?
On that same subject, I noticed in iOS 12, it used to be that if you tapped it twice, it would select one word, and if you tapped it 3 times, it would select a paragraph. Now I notice if I tap it twice, it'll select the word, but I can't get it to select the paragraph without either moving my finger or moving the little handles.
Infuriating, isn't it?
Yeah. I didn't know if that was just me, but I could not get it to do the paragraph.
That is not just you. I feel like I love iOS 12. It was so many good things, but text selection seems to have suffered in a few different ways.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Brett? Well, listen, we really appreciate your time and all the information, and thank you very much.
Thank you.